This podcast is presented by My Place Hotels. Welcome on into Happy Hour. My name is Trey Lyle. Joining me as they do every week, Dalton Hopkins, Michael Massie, and from along John Silver's Caleb Barnes. And this is a mini episode of Happy Hour this week. Obviously, if you tuned in last week, saw our season preview. We went over a lot of big picture stuff, including we're looking forward to the Daytona 500 and the duels. Made some predictions as well. But now we're going to go over some interesting news that came out on Monday, as well as we are going to revisit some of our favorite Daytona 500 memories. So, gentlemen, how are we doing? Dalton, how are you doing first? Since you're a Daytona resident, are you excited for the Daytona 500?
It's every year this week feels like Christmas. I know it's busy. I know it's chaos for a lot of guys, but I've always loved this week. I really am excited to get this week started, not just because I'm going, but just because racing is like officially back. We're going to see 5 straight days of on-track activity at Daytona. So I'm very excited to get this week started. And it's warm. It's not cold like it was at the Rolex. So that's, I guess, great. Hopefully the weather follows suit. But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a good week.
Massey, are you excited for this new rollout of Fox Graphics if they're going to do it? Because based off of what they did for the Super Bowl, feels like everyone's going to love them.
I don't know how much I can actually bash that here or not. So
it was just simplistic. Let's just put it that way.
Why would you bash it? It's so good.
It was
looking
simplistic. At it, like the score bug at the bottom of the screen.
It was just as dry as Tom Brady's analysis.
It reminded me of, when you see an old person using their phone and they have the text like really blown up. That's what the score bug at the bottom of the screen looked like.
At least my dad could see it. He was fine watching it.
So yeah, if the average NASCAR fan is like 63 years old, then they should use it for it, I guess.
They had to make up for the people who didn't like the Kendrick Lamar concert. They had to make sure they could at least see the score.
Well, you couldn't hear what he was saying, so I mean, you had to at least.
Well, there was only like one line that everyone knew he was going to say. That was about it. So have you sang an A minor, Caleb?
No, I don't sing publicly.
I hope people get that joke. I really do.
So it definitely went over the heads of most people, but I picked a bad week to start my morning shift because I got to watch Kentucky basketball tomorrow night, and then got to watch the qualifying on Wednesday night and the duels on Thursday night. So I don't think I'm going to see a lot this week, boys. But I almost pulled a Trey and took a nap this afternoon. Decided it was too risky.
Well, you see, Trey, I'm running.
Trey, you look so tired. Is there something that you were doing last night?
Let's just say your boy, and I didn't actually drink that much. It was just used a lot of energy in celebrating the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. And you know what?
Did you climb a light pole?
I didn't, because I was not in Philadelphia.
Did you tear down a light pole?
Trey's got a piece in the corner of his room right next to Dale.
Yeah, actually. No, I celebrated the game, got to my residence at about 1:30 last night, or I guess Sunday night, or Monday morning, and had to be at work at 5 a.m. So, just hopefully this will go well. I'm doing my best. Tom is making us do this because he wants more content, which he is the boss, so we have to oblige. And he's an Eagles fan, so we are happy right now. So he'll be okay with that. All right, let's get into this. A unique report came out today or Monday when we record this. It's still going to be live. We're still airing this on live on Tuesday. So as always, sit back, relax, crack open that cold one unless you're driving or of not of age, of not under the age of 21. And let's get right into it. Adam Stern posted a report about Steve Phelps saying that NASCAR, which has been privately owned by everyone's favorite France family since 1948, could sell some equity stake of the company for the first time in its history in the coming years, and that he thinks the sports needs to pick up the pace on global expansion. Now, we've seen equity be sold. Obviously, Formula One got sold to Liberty Media. You've seen football teams be sold to either equity firms or race teams sold to equity firms, like Williams was sold to an equity firm in Formula One. I think LMC just partnered with an equity firm,
Joe Gibbs Racing has
or also
the-
has the same thing.
yeah, I think
RFK is kind of an equity firm, but they just buy, well, the Fenway part buys multiple teams. So, gentlemen, Dalton, you go first on this one. First, what do you think? And then recklessly speculate on the entity that's going to purchase some equity in it.
I assume you said recklessly speculate. I don't know. It was kind of hard to tell.
Yes, I said
Okay.
recklessly speculate.
Recklessly? You were going through it, man.
You know, it's easier if you just don't point it out.
Fly.
Go Birds. I mean, if you
Go
just don't
Birds.
point it out,
Go
if you just
Birds.
don't point it out,
Go
no one
Birds.
will know.
No, yeah, this is like, the more I think about it, the more bigger news I really do think this is. If it's on the same level as like what is going on with Formula One and Liberty Media, I think it's like from a 10,000 foot view. Before I speculate who it could possibly be, I think it's a positive change. Any change I think at this point is going to be positive, no matter what. And I'm glad that it's not just going to be one family runs everything. It's not just going to be the France family has this tight stranglehold grip on what's going on, even though that's gone so well for the last 76 years. I guess we're at 77 now, but even though it's gone so well, it's obviously times change, right? And sports entertainment period has changed. So it is time to maybe get an outside take as far as who could possibly be. As much as I just said, it'd be nice to get a fresh perspective. I think it'd be very nice to see somebody within the industry get involved. I know it's probably not going to be somebody like Dale Jr. I know it's probably not going to be somebody like Tony Stewart or anything like that, as cool as that would be. But I do hope there is somebody that, obviously it's got to be somebody with a lot of money, but I do hope it's somebody that knows racing very well and is very passionate about the sport, and it's not just some multi-billionaire. I mean, as long as it's not Elon Musk, basically, as long as Elon Musk does not purchase an equity stake in NASCAR and then call it XCar, I think it'll be. I'll be optimistic about it.
Or Dogecoin.
Space.
Or Dogecoin.
What?
You could call it Dogecoin.
Dogecoin. Wait, now hold on. I changed my. Wait, that
That's
sounds great.
That's why it's coming back.
Yeah, we had that in
And all-
2014.
All the car is about is efficiency, but it's not efficient. I mean we're not gonna get into
Dogecoin, sponsored by Starlink, brought to you by Starlink.
streaming on X.
Streaming on X.
Massey?
Yeah, obviously, it's all we've ever known with having the France family in charge of NASCAR. So it's kind of hard to imagine. And even like other examples, like Penske owning IndyCar, whereas F1's kind of the only motorsports we've seen where it's like an actual company, like a conglomeration in control. And I think what they've done over there has been, like, just from a marketing standpoint and building fans and making the drivers seem larger than life has been great in the past couple of years. They've really seen a boom. So that's encouraging for me if it is someone. And look, back in like 2018, 2019, there was a rumor that the France family was going to sell to Xfinity or Comcast, whatever. I guess Comcast is the parent company of Xfinity, so it'd be Comcast. And maybe that's who it is. they're not sponsoring the Xfinity Series anymore, so they're going to have a little money freed up. They're still going to be one of the premier partners in NASCAR, so maybe they're going to make another run to invest in it. And look, the pros of having like a single family doing it is all the decisions are streamlined. We want to add a 13th person to the playoffs. Bam, they're in, just like that. Whereas like when you're going to have an ownership group, stuff takes longer. I think stuff has to be voted upon and all that. But I'm excited because there won't be like the emotion kind of revenge driven things that have kind of haunted NASCAR's past. Stuff like holding a grudge on like Smokey Yunick or Bobby Allison, or just these things where we've seen like someone have conflict with the France family and kind of get punished as a result of it. And I think having an actual like, a team of people own it with them would be better and minimize things like that. So I'm all for it. I don't see the France family ever giving up full control of the sport, but just to have like a couple more, smart business people in the room, I don't think would hurt at all.
Yeah, and it's not clear like how much it would be because it could be like 10% and just a cash infusion for NASCAR, and they still make all the decisions. We really don't know. We're just recklessly speculating. Here,
You
Caleb,
want a real reckless speculation, real quick?
I was just saying they might need some cash for lawyers' fees, but that was my.
Maybe they're thinking they might lose. They're hedging their bet a little bit and have
Michael Jordan.
Or if they're gonna have to be pumping all this money into short tracks, these next couple of years, they need some cash. North Carolina government only did so much for them for North Wilkesboro, and I think even Bowman Gray to some degree. Caleb, what do you think about all this? And Rockingham.
I really am not too sure how to feel about it. It's one of those things where I feel like NASCAR has done, like, they've taken a lot of little baby steps in like they're inching towards making progress in areas and listening to fans, and then they take like one giant step to the left or the right, and it's like, okay, we didn't really ask for this. And so there's a side of it where I think the extra eyes would be good for it, but then there's another side where I'm kind of worried that more voices could mean even more changes. And I think to something like I know NASCAR can be a bit of the Wild West at times, and my worry would be someone comes in and is like, all right, we got to streamline things and we got to set all these rules and precedents, and we got to start penalizing guys for this and that. And that would be kind of my worry, is that we get even more stringent on the way that things are officiated and the racing, and maybe not really fix things with the car. And then the other part of that tweet, you mentioned that Steve Phelps said he thinks the sports need to pick up the pace on global expansion. And that's another interesting one, because there's part of me that's like, hey, that's really cool. There's rumors about some more like races outside of the United States. We just heard about maybe the Clash going to Brazil, and then some other, like, there's always talks about going to Canada and what countries can we go. But then at the same time, there's still so many great tracks in the United States, and I would hate to take more races out of the country. But then again, there's so many opportunities to maybe bring new fans in. But I don't really think NASCAR would ever be able to compete with Formula One on the global stage. So there's so many components with it that's hard to like nail down a complete, like, oh, this is going to be a great thing for the sport, or this is going to take everything away, and this ain't the NASCAR I grew up with and everything, even though this is already not the NASCAR even I grew up with, and I'm still pretty young. So, just a lot of things to digest in that tweet. But hey, I mean, ride or die until the wheels fall off, literally, if they do fall off and we start racing hover cars around. I'll still probably watch it.
Yeah, there's like two things I think of with this, and maybe it's just simple as they needed inflush of cash. But if they want to do the global expansion, there's kind of one obvious place that has a lot of money that will be controversial, but it's what if it's NASCAR presented by Riyadh season, aka the Saudi Wealth Fund. Like, I don't think that's a non-zero possibility, because if there's already been talks about with Saudi Arabia about having a race there, I bet you would be sponsored by Riyadh season, which sponsors every major sporting event in Saudi Arabia, the F1 race, all the boxing that we have, all the WWE that happens there, all the UFC that happens there. So I would not be shocked if we see Turkey Al-Ashish, I think is his name, waving a green flag and shaking Jim Francis' hand. But I also think there's a logical one. If Jim France doesn't think there's a clear successor at NASCAR, like, to replace him, whether it be Ben Kennedy, for example, is probably the obvious choice just because of the family ties. But if he doesn't, for whatever reason, I've watched Succession, I know what goes on. He doesn't trust Ben Kennedy, and he has a good relationship with Marcus Smith. Like, there's a kind of a clear avenue where there's this like merger between SMI and NASCAR, which is not the good thing to do for NASCAR in a monopoly lawsuit right now, but they might not care, and they merge with SMI, and Marcus Smith takes more of a leadership role over the whole sport because he seems to be a very popular guy amongst drivers and fans, and it's at least a path you could see because they are, they control a large portion of the races. So that's something, like, if we want to use logic, which we never do on the show, I can
Who
see
you
how
kidding? They're gonna sell to China.
Could you imagine a NASCAR race in like Europe or like Australia or something, and it starts at 1 a.m. and all these people complain about noon start times, just like whatever, like that. It's not even an argument anymore.
You said you want a 1 o'clock start time.
If you watch F1, I mean, yeah, you're probably already used to it.
DVR that. That's what I would do.
I think. Well, I had to deal with that like for almost the entirety of last year, so I've been there, done that. But
You trained yourself.
I did. To stay up until 3 a.m. in some cases was well worth it. But
are you excited to see your boss this weekend? By the way,
my boss,
your big boss, the big guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I probably won't even get to see him in person. I might see his plane fly in. That'll be pretty cool. I saw that in 2020. That was pretty neat. Yeah, it took you a second, didn't it? It took you a second to realize.
Are we talking about like God or something?
I think it was about Massie. I'm like, yeah, I guess technically Massie's my boss. Like, but no, I think whoever you're going to get in is, since we're throwing logic and throwing reason out the window like we usually do on this show, I think if you're going to have somebody get equity that's not Jim France and become a leader that's not Jim France, you need to have somebody that is more outspoken than Jim France, or I should say more visible than Jim France, because the problem right now, I think, is a serious lack of communication between NASCAR leadership and everybody else. Like, really the only time we get that kind of outreach, like that kind of like openness to talk, is like Steve Phelps's state of the sport speech at Phoenix every year. And I'm sorry, but that's not enough. Like, I think the best explanation, or the best example I can think of, is like Trey and I both watch UFC, is Dana White. And wouldn't it be funny if he came in and put in, like, got a little bit of ownership in there? But he's very open. He's in every press conference. Why are you shaking your head?
I don't want Dana White running the UFC or running NASCAR.
I want somebody like him. I want somebody who's outspoken. I didn't say him, but I'm saying somebody outspoken like him who communicates with the press and is very open with the press, with media, and with fans. It's somebody who's very opinionated and not, we're doing the best we. Don't worry, we are talking to OEMs, and we'll have a new one in the sport in the near future. And we've been saying that for the last decade now. So just something different, somebody that communicates.
The Bush beer guy.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel sponsor of Frontstretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans can use promo code Frontstretch to save 10% on your stay at any Nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code Frontstretch. This racing season, be sure to make my place your place. All right, let's move on to some great Daytona 500 moments. Obviously, the Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday. Dalton Hopkins, what is your favorite? Oh, what is your favorite Daytona 500 moment? And I can guess it.
Can you? Oh, actually,
Yeah.
oh man. We did talk about this, and I didn't really actually think about what my all-time favorite one would be.
I was guessing it was T-Bane because you just predicted it.
Wait, who? Wait, what?
When Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500.
I mean, that was a great moment, but I don't know if that was my favorite one for sure. I'll tell you what, 2012 was pretty wild. I mean, a personal favorite of mine, 2012 was pretty nuts. Just because I got to stay up until 2 a.m. and the next day, everybody at school, even though nobody was really a NASCAR fan except for me, everybody at school was like, "What the hell is going on with the Daytona 5? What was going on?" Because it was the talk of it was all the news on the news. It was talk of the town. So and I was the only. Everyone was coming to me and they were like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, Montoya blew up turn 3." And they're like, "Who's Montoya?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you don't know who that is." But that's probably one of my favorite. I think one of my favorite memories for sure. You'd have to come back to me because I'd have to think more about that, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
I can go. I think to me it's 2014, and it's just because it was Dale Jr.'s redemption. He was the first driver to ever lock himself in the playoffs, and I just remember my mom coming into my room and being like, "You need to go to bed." But I'm like, "Mom, Dale Jr. won the Daytona 500." She's like, "That's great. Please go to bed." I'm like, "No, Dale Jr. won the Daytona 500." And so it was that little moment, because I sort of remember when he first won it, but I was too young. This it was grained in my head, and so I just that interaction I had with my mom, I think, forces me to pick that as my favorite Daytona 500 moment.
Did you hop
Massie,
on Twitter with Dale Jr.?
Should I hop on Twitter with Dale Jr.?
No, did you hop
Did
on?
you?
Because that's when he joined Twitter.
I think I was already on Twitter. So I followed him. Massie, pick something from 1972.
Ooh,
Old man.
I don't even know what happened that year. I mean, if you do want to, I was 2012 is kind of a bad memory because I'm still kind of mad that they didn't just give it to Dave Blaney. Everybody thought they were going to call that race. And I was thinking about 2011, but I was like, "Oh, Dalton's going to pick Trevor Bayne, so I can't pick that one."
Why did y'all think I was going to pick Trevor Bayne?
Am
I known for being a Trevor Bayne fan or something?
No, but you gave this whole story how you told your mom he was going to win the race the morning.
But I just thought that was a cool memory. Yeah. Okay. All right.
How dare we remember stories you tell?
Yeah.
But for me, I'm gonna go with 2002 because that one I'll never forget. Where Sterling Marlin looks like he's gonna win his third Daytona 500. Him and Jeff Gordon get in a wreck, and it's a red flag, and Sterling gets out the car and starts pulling on the fender, and I'll never forget.
You can't do that,
boys. You can't do that. And then they penalize him, send him to the back, and Ward Burton from Virginia boy, South Boston, Virginia, gets his Daytona 500 win. And that was just a really cool underdog win and just a great race leading up to that. So I would say that one. But I will shout out as well the not one that I watched live, but one I watched after the fact, the 1988 Bobby Allison and his son running 1-2, given that was Bobby's
you didn't watch it live. Sure.
That was before I was born. But given that was Bobby's last career win, and then given what happened with Davey a few years later, I feel like that's a cool sentimental one.
I've been trying to come up with one That's not because honestly, I think my favorite one was watching the finish of the 2011 race, just because Trevor Bayne, birthday boy, all that stuff. But that story's not as good as Dalton telling his mom and
Yeah.
predicting the winner. So I feel like I have to come up with a different one. But really, I mean, that's the first one that comes to mind every time. And like I just remember. Didn't he make the final block on like Bobby Labonte or Carl Edwards or
Yeah.
somebody, like, because it looked like they were gonna go blowing by him, and then he just moved down perfectly. Like they didn't wreck him or anything. They could have tried to make a move, but they just settled in. And I just remember DW like yelling and "Happy birthday, Trevor Bayne, 20 years old," and all that sort of stuff. So that's always my go-to of like, it was such a cool, like, the 21 car hardly even ever ran full time at that moment too. And Trevor Bayne, like, he got the draft with his boyhood hero Jeff Gordon. I remember when I was still a kid, I was like, that's such a cool thing. So that's my go-to, I think.
We'll mention 98, but like three-fourths of us weren't really alive when that happened. I was one. I was not even one, actually. I was like 6 months.
I was not even.
You were zero. You were not even
not
alive.
even existing.
Massey was the only one. Was the only
Massey
I
was
was
one.
alive, but I wasn't watching at that
But
point.
we should mention it because Dale Earnhardt did win the Daytona 500 then. So, but yeah.
2007. That's another one that really stands out.
That is a good one. I was gonna say that would probably been a close second for me, just
That's a good
because
one.
just like how wild that, like, so picturesque that finish was. It was like something out of a movie. It was so good.
I used it for the checkered flag segment on Bringing the Heat as the producer. So
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The part with Mike Joy.
yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The
All right.
2020 race was really good too, but it's overshadowed by the big crash that happened at the end. But I remember that whole race and like those final two laps, the way that Denny and Ryan Blaney were like using their cars to pull each other, like they were separating the two tandems and all sorts of stuff. Like they were just throwing some haymakers back and forth, and I was like, "This is really good." And then Brian Newman almost died, and I felt sick the rest of the night. I was like, "What did I just watch?"
Somewhere on my phone. It's not on my phone. It's probably in the iCloud somewhere. It might have been might have been my old work phone when I was working for IMSA, but I have a video of me on pit road seeing that happen. That, like, I actually did record the finish, and I am screaming, like, just at was such a wild finish. And I don't have that video anymore. I wish I did, but because it's just a different perspective. But I got it happening like as they were crossing the line. That was a strange night, because I was in the media center when that happened, and it was just dead silence for about 2 hours. Like that was very scary. And then just the relief that came over when Steve Phelps came in and said that he was conscious and he was responsive. That was a very, very good. That was a good moment.
Probably the most forgotten photo finish in NASCAR.
Was that? Yeah. I'll say, because I completely forgot that was a photo finish.
And he barely beat Blaney.
Did they throw the yellow?
Newman almost won the thing. Like,
yeah,
he almost like won the thing upside down.
I think that's the worst part about that race, is that Ryan Newman 100% was going to win that race if the other Ryan Blaney didn't bump him just a little bit too hard, which nothing against him. Like, he was doing what he had to do to win. I don't think he obviously didn't mean to do what happened, but
I don't think he was trying to turn him either. I think he was going to fall in like in the 2011, like
Honestly,
behind Trevor Bayne. He just had so much speed.
That's how I felt worse for him and like LaJoy, obviously, because LaJoy like ran into him after the fact. Like you could tell they both were like shaken up by it after the race.
LaJoy definitely was. Yeah. I think this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trey.
I was going to wrap up, so you got
You're going to wrap it up. No, I was going to say, like, the only thing I was going to say was that Ryan Blaney. I actually, when I went out to the diecast vendors a couple of days ago, and I actually talked to some guys about who, just making small talk about who they picked to win, and like I talked to about 4 of them, and 3 of them picked Ryan Blaney. just because he's just overdue. Like he's been so close so many times to win that race. And I also feel like Bubba Wallace is overdue also. Honestly, there's about 4 or 5 guys that are overdue that just need to win this race this year. So
Kyle
Martin
Busch.
Truex. Martin Truex.
Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, definitely for sure. Brad Keselowski, like, Chris Buescher for sure is going to.
This is Kyle's 20th year, right?
Yeah, it's his 20th year of trying.
With RCR.
Because it is 20 years of frustration.
20 years of trying.
Is it the script? The script.
It's in the script.
Yeah, I don't think Kyle Busch is going to win. I don't trust RCR.
Bold projection from Trey right here.
I know. Well, I'll eat crow maybe next Tuesday. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Happy Hour. At Pitlane CPT and M_Massey22. They both will be at Daytona all week, partying hard and trying to cover some racing. While Caleb will have at Caleb Barnes _ will have 4 burning questions, and I will twiddle my thumbs. So that's basically our week this week.
I'll also be at New Smyrna.
You also be at New Smyrna. Well, this comes out on Tuesday night, so.
Oh, okay. Well, when all of our lovely listeners are listening to this, the moment it comes out, as they always do.
Run to New Smyrna. If you can get there in time, good luck.
I will be at New Smyrna.
Wait, Dalton, how are you at New Smyrna right now? You're 2 places at one time.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. I teleport, and I can. It's not too far. It's about 15 minutes down the road.
We just, in all transparency, we have recorded this on Monday night, but we're going to stream it live on Tuesday on our typical spot, just because Massey and Dalton have to go to.
In case you couldn't tell from the bright sun that's in all of our frames.
That's why we're ignoring all of your chats.
We actually we've actually time traveled. We're ahead of time. All right, that will do for this episode of Happy Hour. For Dalton, Michael, Caleb, I'm Trey. Everyone have a great night and enjoy Speed Weeks. This podcast was presented by My Place Hotels.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Frontstretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Frontstretch fans can use promo code Frontstretch to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay rewarded.